So, Julia, you are 23 and you own two seven-figure businesses. What context do we need to know about your early days in order to understand what it took to build that? Because you're only 23.
Yeah. Um, so I started, my whole life changed when I was 12. I used to be a kid who had everything. Like, my mum would take me out of school from time to time to go spa days and something like it was really cool. And I'd have the newest iPhone and the newest, like, pairs of clothes and everything, a really nice house. And then, like, when I was 12, it all changed. Ended up going to a council estate because we got repossessed. And then my mum went through divorce, and then there was loads of family stuff happening. And I also have a brother. He's 6 years like younger than me. So he was really, really young. I was 12, he was 6, right?
You
and
got a girl?
and then I felt like I remember like when we first were driving to our new home, I was like, I don't care where we live as long as it's not those ugly houses with stones on them. And I was like, that was exactly where we lived. Like it was the flats, and it was like I remember going in there, and it was like left in a really bad state. Like we had neon pink walls and green carpet. It was disgusting. And I remember thinking like, I'm not living here. And I would be that brat where I was like, I'm not living there. And then obviously because I was a kid, I was living there. Like, and I felt like something was wrong because even though I said I wasn't going to live there, I was living there and I didn't like it. And then I saw my mum had a business as well. So, like, she had a childminding business, and she was the first one in the area to do like 24-hour childminding. And she also did festivals, but for children. So, Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's, all of those, she did festivals for them. And they were great. And yeah, all of a sudden she had to stop that. And she went into 3 jobs, and I could just see her like I could barely see her, but when I did see her, I saw her dying almost slowly, because she was so exhausted. She didn't have time for us, no more spa days, and in fact, I actually had to pick up my brother from school, drop him to school, but because I was going to school as well, in the mornings I had to drop into the childminders because otherwise I'd be late for school. And yeah, so I just
And
took on
what
the
age were you when you
responsibility.
were doing that? What age were you when you were dropping your brother?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Like, I was like 12, 13. Like,
But
yeah.
you were obviously like stepping in for your mom because she was obviously trying her best to help you guys.
Yeah, well, my mum was already at work. So, like, when we woke up, my mum was already at work. So, it was my responsibility to, like, wake my brother up, make sure he's dressed, make sure he's brushed his teeth, make sure he's had some breakfast, and then rush him to the bus stop, take a bus, and then know what stop to get off at, rush him. And he was always so slow. He was like, I'm so sleepy, like, all of this. And I'd be like, hurry up, like, you need to,
Yeah.
and it's funny because we had a conversation about this with my brother last time, and he was just like, oh, I now understand it, like, because he used to hate me because I'd always just like be like, hurry up, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, like, and it
Because
was
you
just
were
because,
his mother
yeah.
figure almost, yeah.
And he always said, like, I really hated you as a sister, but like, I now get it. He's a lot older now, he's 18, but yeah, he was like, I get it now. I'm
And
like,
probably appreciates it now, Julia, you
yeah,
know.
it's really wholesome. Like he's said like he sees what I did, and he's like very mature now, and he's like, I don't know how you did it, but like I'm really grateful you did that. So he's like very mature from that aspect. But yeah, like I was basically a mom to a 6-year-old, a second mom, and I also tried to like care for my mom. My mom was going through divorce. It wasn't easy, and we were living in a really shitty place. Like I hate it. I've always been like a girl who was like, I want aesthetic things and I really want like an aesthetic home. And I couldn't even take a nice photo because like everything looked cluttered because we went from like a nice big house to like a 2-bed flat. It was just not it. So yeah, that's when I decided I'm gonna change it, and that's where I went into looking on Google how to become a millionaire because
At what age were you
12.
when
And
you looked this up? You
yeah,
were 12 years old.
yeah, because in my head I thought, oh, the only problem is that we don't have money now. Like, because I thought to myself, like, what's the thing that changed? Like, when I had a nice life, you know, I was this popular kid. I had all the newest clothes, all the newest iPhones, and a really nice house, and, you know, all of this. My mum was happy, everyone was happy. Versus now, like, what the fuck happened? And in my head, it was like, oh, well, we don't have money now, but we used to. So I started looking at, like, how to become a millionaire. And it said, like, a generic response, like, stocks, crypto, and, like, AI wasn't a thing then, but I'm sure if you type it up now, it'll say, like, AI. And it said real estate. And I'm like, what's that? Like, and I started researching and I found out it was like properties. And I thought, oh, well, if we lost our home, maybe that's the second problem. Like, maybe it's because we lost our home that we're now all miserable. Like,
Maybe
so
that's the thing that
yeah,
you need
so
to
I started
find.
to like research more about property, and that's how everything like led to another thing, to another thing, to another thing. And it's like the butterfly effect, right? They call it.
Wow.
But yeah.
So you were 12 and you were looking that up and you were researching how you were going to get out of the scenario that you were in.
Yeah, I basically had a really present mum, and my brother didn't. And I just wanted my mum to be present with my brother. So, yeah.
Wow. Wow. So talk us through the start of your journey into investment property. What age were you?
So, it's really hard to say because, like, at 12, I ordered my first ever book on my mum's card through, like, Amazon or a website, eBay or whatever you call
What
it.
book was it?
Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is like the typical book everyone starts with.
Wow. And you bought that at 12 years old?
With my mum's card, like not mine, but
Wow.
yeah. Because like when I done my research, it said like if you want, one blog said if you want to become successful, you need to read this, and I was like, easy, like, bro. And obviously, I thought if I read this book, I'd know everything there is to turn my life around and all of this, but I didn't understand a word, to be honest with you, and I kept having to research things and like what does this word mean, what does that word mean, because it is obviously written in a form for like older people to understand. So it took me about 3 years, 12, 13, 14, 15, yeah, that's true. It took me about 3 years to get through that book.
And understand it.
Yeah, and understand it. And then at 15, I would start having dinners with my mom, and I'd be like, I know what you need to do. You need to invest in property. And my mum didn't take that well, because think about it, like you're working 3 jobs, you're stressing, and then the only day off you have with your kid, your 15-year-old kid is telling you how you could unfuck your life because like you should just invest in property. But it's
Oh my
obviously not as easy
God.
as that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how it started. My mum was like, yeah, ha ha ha, like I should. I'm like, well, do it then. And she's like, well, and then that was always the thing, like, I should, but I'm not. And then I was like, well, if she can't, I will. And then I realised, like, I started calling agents because in my head, I thought a way to get into property, you call the agents up, you get a viewing. If you like it, you place an offer. And then when you have the property, you get the keys and you get a tenant in, and that tenant pays your mortgage. You don't need anything up front.
So
That's how I understood it.
Yeah, so your understanding was like that basic understanding from Rich Dad Poor Dad, understanding real estate and researching it from the age of 12 to 15. You're like, oh, I actually don't need money to start.
Yeah. And I was like, I can do this. And I was like, and then I found out obviously you need credit history, you need to actually be 18 to buy a house. And obviously that came later.
Okay.
But my first thing was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. Then it was researching a lot on the web, and trying to just understand how I could make money off property. Like, okay, I need something called a tenant. What's a tenant? Like,
Without actually having money. So
without
you were
actually having money, yeah.
Okay, so if your mom wasn't going to ring up someone that could help you, you decided that you were going to take it into your own hands.
I called my first estate agent so young that when they asked me, like, estate agents ask you, like, what's your, yeah, of course I can book you for a viewing. Like, what's your name? What's your date of birth? What's your email? I didn't even get to the email part. Because when I said my date of birth, he said, sorry, the line cut out. Like, can you say it again? I said again. They hanged up the phone. They thought I was just, like, fucking with them. And I was like, okay, that's rude. I called another one. That person gave me time of day. When it got to date of birth again, they laughed and they were like, are you telling me you're like 15? And I'm like, yeah. And I want to buy a house. Like, they didn't know if I was pulling their leg, like prank calling them. And they were like, okay, I'm not sure if this is a prank call, but like, you need to be 18 to like buy a house. So do not call us again. And I was like, well, I want to get us out of this situation, but I can't. So, because legally I'm not allowed to buy a house at 18. Like, what the fuck is this? And then it's just crazy. So I remember like having a little bit of a stumble. But I first started properly investing at 16, which was when I went with my ex-boyfriend to a conference. It was like a 3-day conference of how to invest in property with as little as £5,000.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And I went there, and the whole 3 day, by the way, we were the youngest people in that room. And I remember like sitting right at the back thinking like, I don't want to talk to anyone because they're all like my parents' age. And I don't know what to talk to them about. Like, I don't have the same interests. I don't have nothing. And I used to think like parents were, and like my parents' friends and stuff were like, because they're so much older, they were so much scarier. And so, yeah, but we went to this conference and I got all my motivation from there because I was like, I can now invest in property into multiple strategies. They talked about different strategies of how you can start in property with as little as 5K. And some of it was deal sourcing, some of it was subletting, some of it like things like where you don't need to own the property, but you can still make money from property.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, cool, this changed the way I thought. I was like, okay, it doesn't need to be the traditional way of like buying a house and like getting a tenant in and just making money. It can be different ways, you know?
Okay.
And that's where the journey kind of started.
So you were 16 at this point. And so how actually did it start from that event? Like, what were the exact steps that you took to renting out your first property?
Okay, so I was really motivated. And first thing I did is like I just started to reach out to agents because my whole goal was like, okay, I'm gonna rent a property. If I can't buy one, I'll rent one. I'll then borrow £3,000 of my nan or my family or someone who has money, and I will furnish it, and I will then rent it out. Like that's as easy as that is. And then I started saying, okay, I need properties. Okay, I'll go to agents. And agents were like, no, we're not doing that. You're literally like 16, like this is ridiculous. I had an agent tell me like go back to school, like, which is fair enough. I was like, okay, fair enough. I would actually borrow my mum's clothes to make myself seem like an adult.
Older.
Yeah, and obviously it looked ridiculous because it was like an oversized blazer and I'm like, yeah, I'm here to rent properties. And I started looking at Facebook groups, signing myself on to like property like groups and all of these things where people were like, I've got a property to rent. And I thought, okay, let's skip the agents, let's go directly to the landlords. So I started doing that and we weren't really getting anywhere. And then I went to a landlord who had quite a lot of properties in my area, and I thought, if anyone's going to give me a chance, is this one, because he's got so many, the risk is so little for him. That's how I thought back then. And
At
so
16.
and so I went to him and I was like, right, I'm going to rent your property and I'm going to rent it out again. And you need to agree because no one else has agreed. So you're going to do this. And he was like, who are you? Like, what the hell? And he obviously had his own little estate agency where he managed his own properties. He passed me on to someone called Lisa, who was like the manager. And she was like, what do you want? And we were like, we want to get involved in property. And the landlord was like, I like your motivation. I won't rent you my property, but you can start with tenant fines. And I was like, oh my God, we got our first customer.
Someone said yes.
And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So me and
Just before we go there into that, how many times were you told no before you got that yes?
Does that start from 12 or does that start from
From
16?
12.
Like, so many times. So, like, I can't even tell you. Like, I've lost count. Like,
Over 100?
over like probably like over 1,000, like, because it wasn't just getting like rejections from me wanting to get a deal. It was like as easy as like me wanting to buy a book and my mum saying no, we don't have the money. And then it was just like, okay, I'm just gonna do it anyway. Like, and then my mum getting pissed off because someone scammed her for like £5 or so for this book, and I didn't tell her it was me. Like,
Yeah.
and like I had to overcome so many different things along the way because it started from just a little book. also my dad's boyfriend at the time invested £3,000 into a course because I thought this is my way in. So we invested into a course because I begged him. But it took me and my boyfriend at the time quite a few times to be like, we promise we're going to work extra hours, because we were working as like waitresses and stuff. And we were like, we're going to like pay you back for this. We just need the knowledge. Because we were getting declined so many times that one person once said, how do you expect to get a yes if you don't even know what you're talking about? And we were like, okay, right, you're right, fine. So we then were like, let's get a course. And we were constantly getting no's, and we were constantly evolving through those no's and finding new ways, and then gaining knowledge along the way, and then trying again.
You didn't quit?
No.
You didn't take no for an answer. You just thought, okay, that's another no. Here, I'm going to try it another way. I'm going to figure it out another way. I'm going to figure it out another way. I'm going to figure it out another way.
I can't remember where I remember like seeing this, but it was like, I think it was Steve Harvey. I really like Steve Harvey.
Same.
And it was like, if you can't go through it, try going above it. If you can't go above it, try going under it. If you can't go left, try going right. And the likelihood is one of those ways will work.
Wow.
And it was literally like that. Like
So you get your first shot at finding tenants.
Yes.
Talk us through that.
So I said, like, the landlord said, we can give you £100 for every tenant you find. It's a fixed fee, but you need to find the tenant, you need to market the property, you need to do the viewings, and then Lisa is going to educate you on how to do the credit checks and tenant checks and all right to rent checks. And Lisa was like, kill me now. Because, yeah, let's just say she hated us for the first like month, both of us, because she was having two 16 and 17-year-olds, because that was what the stage was at. 16 and 17-year-olds messaging and emailing her and calling her when she doesn't respond to our emails, being like, how do we do this? What do we do with this? If a tenant does this, how do we respond to this? So she was doing our work, but we were getting paid for it. Because we were still learning. Like,
you're asking so much questions.
Yeah, and we were still learning. But yeah, that's how it worked. So we were like, cool. He gave us a list of all his empty properties. We looked at it. We went to view all of them. Our parents drove us to all these viewings because they were like, okay, they're on to something, like they're young, like let them live a little. Like that was the thought they were having. And they, at that point, they were like, okay, they're not joking, like they're being serious, like they've got keys to these properties to go view them, like cool. And at first I didn't actually get the keys. He let his maintenance team to meet us, to let us in, because he didn't trust us. And then because of the amount of viewings we were doing, he was like, just have your own keys.
Have the keys.
Yeah, just have the keys. And I remember like being like, oh my God, we've got our first keys. But it was just to a tenant find property. And we were
still,
like,
it was that feeling of like knowing you're onto something.
yeah, and it was really wholesome. And so we were so passionate. We were like, yeah, let's go. We went to these properties, empty properties, took photos on our iPhones, posted them all over Facebook groups, created, and then we realized we need to open a business. Like later down the line, we were like, oh yeah, we need to be paid into a business and stuff. So we started learning like, what's an LTD and what does it mean I need to be like reported as self-employed and all of these things, like what would you mean like a director, and learning all of that side. End of year taxes, like what do you mean?
Like what is this?
And yeah, so we started doing that, and we made our first £1,000 from just tenant finds. Literally just like finding tenants.
Volume. Like essentially just being like, he said find this amount, you knew it was like £100 per finding, and then you were just like, okay,
let's go.
I just need to
go
volume.
Yeah. And I then asked for a management, because we were like, right, we've got the experience now, we've
like
tenanted.
Is it tenanted is the word? Is that what you say? So you probably tenanted how many?
We actually tenanted about 30 properties over the whole term. Wow. Like, but the first was obviously like 10 people, like in 10 homes. And I remember when we first had £1,000, and we were like, oh my God, because we were literally working payslip to payslip, and we were working for a job agency, and we were working as a housekeeper, as a waitress, and as office jobs, and we didn't find passion in it. But with property, we were like, we were getting like an adrenaline kick out. We're like, we're doing something for us, you know? yeah, it was really, really cool.
And were you in school at that time?
We were, but we just finished school.
Okay.
So it was like the summer.
The
And
summer
then,
after you
well,
finished?
no, we went college and then we dropped, because it was in between, the whole process was 16 to 17. And like, we were in college, but none of us really like had a good journey in college. And I just couldn't, I went from being like a really popular girl, which I didn't realize at the time in school, to like a big college. And I was just like, I don't relate to any of these people because everyone was about like drugs, alcohol, and I'm not a party person. And so I was like, okay, I just want to talk to someone about property, businesses, like someone who's doing better than me. And I'd have friends who had really successful parents, and I'd always spend it with their parents being like, how did you afford this home? Like, how did you like do this? Like, because I would be so inspired by them, but then I realized it wasn't actually them, it was their parents, because they didn't pay for the house, their parents did.
So you were learning from their parents.
Yeah, because I was like, well, if they can have it,
Why can't I?
why can't I? Like, I want this home. I want to have my kids in a home like this. And it's so easy, right? Like, they can have it. And I guess that was a blessing, being surrounded by people who had money. But then it was also feeling left out, like I didn't belong in a sense, because I was the only one who lived in a council estate and we never went to my home because I always made sure we didn't. And I'd always try and go to their home because not only did I find inspiration in that, but I'd always be like, love spending time with them there. Meanwhile, when we were in my home, it almost felt like reality, which I was trying to,
Escape.
yeah.
Yeah, like using your pain as your purpose essentially, and then understanding, I suppose, the safety that and comfort maybe you found in those other homes was actually what you wanted for
I was searching
yourself
for.
and for other people.
Yeah, and I always said, and I still do to this day, I want to have the coolest house before I have kids. I want a swimming pool. I want a sauna. I want a steam room. I want a cinema room. And I want like a fitness room. And I want all of that in 2 countries, Bali and UK.
Yeah.
Because I want our kids to have the coolest house. So it means that all the gatherings and all the, fun stuff, like all the kids want to come to our house. And I want to be able to be the host
Inspire.
and to do all that and be like, you know what? We are now the parents, like that's
Wow.
what I always wanted.
Wow. Juliet, from going from the tenants and putting them into the properties, how did you go from that to building your own business?
Yeah, so it was all, the way I saw it, it was like, okay, one step, like a ladder, right? Like my mom, as much as I love her, she always embedded, you need to work your way up, you need to work your way up. So like, I wish I didn't work my way up, but that's the thing that got me here. So I started from tenant fines. I just basically took any opportunity I could.
Look, at least you were working your way up in something where it was going to bring you to ownership rather than working your way up in society standards of corporate
Yeah.
or
But I could never do
teaching
that.
or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
I wish I could. I remember when I was in college, like my mum was like, you're going to need to go to college and all of this. And I'm like, okay. She was like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. Like, and I was thinking like, I want to be a therapist. I was like, no, I don't want to deal with like, I want to help people, but I don't want to deal with their shit. That's a lot to carry.
You already have enough.
And then I was like, I want to be a lawyer, but I don't, because you don't, like, law isn't always justice. Like, do you know what I mean? And then I was just like, oh, like, well, what am I going to do? I want to be an investigator. Oh, I hate blood. Like, there was always something that just, I didn't want, or there was just no passion in it. Like, and property was the first thing I was like, oh, yeah. Like,
I love
I'm onto
this.
something. But yeah, so from tenant fines, I then was just working my way up. So I asked the landlord if I could do a management. And he asked me what experience in management I've got. And I was like, well, I know how to tenant properties. I know how to do the contracts. I know how to write to rents and all these things. He was like, okay, so you can tenant find now. Like, yeah. And he was just like, okay, no. And then I remember calling like my best friend's dad at the time, who was a lawyer. And I was like, I don't get it. He said no, all of this, da, da, da. And he was like, okay, you're getting annoyed, but have you tried offering the service for free? And I was like, why would I do that? I'm here to make money. I'm not going to get wealthy if I'm giving my services out for free. All of these things. And my boyfriend at the time was also like of the same mind. And he was like, listen, all you need is one free thing and then you've got the experience. You can then charge. And we were like, oh my God, yeah, cool. Like, let's
Got
go.
it.
And we went back to him and said, what if we did it for free? And he was like, okay, yeah, why not? Like, what do I have to lose? And we were like, oh my God, we got our first management. It's like, let's go. So my first management was actually for free. But at the time, like, it first felt like I lost. And then it felt like I actually won because of the change of perspective. And then from there, we did a management. And then after that, like, me and my boyfriend at the time actually broke up. And I ended up going off by myself. And I was like, fuck it, because I was like really hurt at the time, but I was like, I'm gonna convert it like into motivation, and I'm going to be successful. And I was like, I'm gonna have X amount of properties by 18. And I went all in, and I created like a folio, which is like just printed out photos of properties that I've tenanted and of our management. And I literally went and like I found a HMO register, which is like a register of all the landlords, which is like who have HMOs, which is houses of multiple occupations, which is like student accommodations, professional workers, people who live in multiple rooms, but it's one home.
Okay.
In like most cities in the UK, you need to have a HMO license, and that needs to be registered with your council, which you can obtain that register because it's like a Freedom Act of Knowledge or something like that. You can know about it basically.
Okay.
So I got this register, and it literally was a 300-paged like register of all the homeowners' names, the addresses they own. It was gold. It was golden.
All
So
your
I was like,
leads.
oh my God. And I found that out actually from the course. So I was like, it was worth it.
Okay.
So I was like, right, let's go. And I remember just sending loads of letters. And then when I had like viewings with potential people who were interested, I would say, yeah, this is my experience. Here's my folio. And I have something to show them because I wasn't lying. That was my experience. I just wasn't getting paid for it. Like,
But it was your experience.
but it was my experience. So then I acquired my first property, which I rented. And then I had another problem. I was like, well, fuck, I don't have the money to furnish it. I need to furnish it, and then I need to tenant it for me to get money. So I started reaching out to anyone I knew who, like, all my friends, families, basically, being like, I've got this property, I need money. Like, I will give you a return, I'll give you interest, like, I'll return it within X amount of, like, installments. I was like, no. Like, I wish I could, but I can't. Or it was like sometimes like nice letdowns, like just tell me, like it's fine.
Yeah.
And eventually, it was my birthday and something was coming up, and my nan was like, "What do you want?" I was like, "I want £3,000." And she was like she must have thought like, what the fuck. But yeah, like managed to get £3,000 together basically, and I found a shop.
Because you told her what you were doing.
No, I just said
Oh.
I wanted money for my birthday. Because it
She
was
didn't
easier.
ask.
It was easier to say I wanted money for my birthday than to explain I'm wanting to invest it. Because when you tell people you want to invest it, they see risk. But when
And
you
they think
say
it's a scam.
yeah, but when you say you want money, they are more likely to give it to you.
So she just didn't question why you wanted 3,000.
She thought I was probably just like a brat who was like, okay, like whatever. And actually, I don't think she gave me 3,000. She gave me 1.5 or close to 3.
Okay.
I can't remember the top of my head now. But then I managed to gather all my money, and I was working and I was doing all these things. I had 3 grand, and I had 3 grand to furnish a 4-bed house. And I was like, right, let's go. Each room needs a bed, a desk, a chair, a wardrobe. Like, let's go. And I just started doing it. And I kept going, and like repeating the process over and over again.
So once you did that first property, you had acquired that through using the experience that you did for free
Yeah.
as leverage to show
To gain trust. It was to gain trust that I know what I'm doing.
landlords
Yeah. Homeowners,
to
yeah.
homeowners to give you a property
Yeah.
to sell,
To rent.
to rent.
So the way it works is like I would rent a property from them, and I would offer them something called guaranteed rent. So it means I would have a 3-year contract instead of a 12-month, sorry. That would be great. A 3-year contract instead of a 12-month contract, which means they have no voids and they're fully occupied, and I will pay them rent whether I'm occupied or not. So I took on that
Okay,
risk.
so that you took on that risk, but you knew you had evidence to know and back yourself
What I need to do
that you
to
could
make
get
it.
tenants in
Yeah.
all of the time.
Yeah.
And so they didn't need to worry about having tenants in the house
No.
because you had
Yeah.
acquired the
So
property.
basically,
that's how it worked.
I am the person who is now, like, I am the company renting the property from them.
Yeah.
And I will be occupying this property for 3 years.
Yeah.
To 5 years, sometimes some contracts are
guaranteed
5.
rent back
With
to them.
guaranteed rent. And it means whether I'm occupied or not, that doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
I need to pay them, and I'm taking on the responsibility that I will pay them regardless.
Wow.
So I need to make it work.
And so that was your first one.
Yeah.
And then you obviously got tenants into that and then gained leverage
Yeah.
from that one.
So yeah, I got it like renovated, which also wasn't easy. And then I got tenants in. Also wasn't easy because it was my first one, but I had all the experience from the past. So it was like perfect. And then, yeah, I basically was profiting £500 from that one property, but that was profit every single month
That was guaranteed income.
that I didn't need to work for. And that was when I was like, I remember getting the chills, and I still kind of do, like, thinking about it, because that was the first time I was like, what do you mean I can be in my bed, and just because they're living in my house, it's not even my house. And I was like, I am getting paid £500. I'm like, let's go again.
Did that just like set that innate drive and motivation in you to be like, boom?
Yeah. Plus, I was still obviously like, I started property with my boyfriend at the time. So I was kind of like,
You're using like the heartbreak.
I was just like, do you know what? I'm going to fucking like show him, and I'm going to be so successful. And it was really funny because obviously now that's completely changed because I really enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
But at the time I was like, fuck
You're
this.
so
Like,
young.
I'm going to do this.
But I think what's something that is so important that I want to just go back on, Julia, is that you made a decision that that's what you were doing. You said that I'm going to do this. I'm going to be successful. I'm not taking no as an answer. I'm going to get into this. I don't care how many people say no. And I'm going to do it in X amount of time. So you actually had made a decision. You weren't wishfully thinking or like hoping that someday this will work out.
Yeah, no.
You
It
had
had
just-
to work out now because I needed to get out that council estate, and I needed my family out.
Wow.
So I was just like, I didn't. It's funny because like my
That
mum.
was your why.
Yeah, my mum said, it's so weird having boys and girls because she obviously has me and has my brother. And she goes, you were like, I don't have enough time. And my brother's like, I've got all the time in the world. Because it's true. Everywhere I went, I was like, I don't have time for this. Like, I need to do this. Like, I've got this I'm building
urgency.
on. Like, yeah. And it was always like, I don't have time. I need to focus on this. I need to do these 1,001 things in the next 24 hours. And I don't have time for this right now.
What did your friends think at 18 years old, you doing this? Did people think you were weird?
I don't think they knew. I don't
Really?
actually think they knew. Like, they knew I opened a business, and they knew I was like speaking with adults. I don't think they understood what I was doing. I think they were literally like, oh, she's just gone off the radar. And I kind of did. Like,
Obviously, if you need
I didn't go to parties. I hardly really like had time to go out because I was like, okay, next thing. I was either renovating a house or looking for new leads or like looking for furniture on IKEA, the budget furniture, the cheapest I could find that doesn't look cheap.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I don't think they knew. I don't think they
You
knew.
knew they were too busy, probably in college,
Yeah.
drinking. Or
And
partying
actually,
or
like,
something.
at that time, I like, when I was, like, 17, 18, and probably 19, I really isolated myself. And actually, I did end up having, like, I was diagnosed with the doctors as depression, but I didn't feel like I had depression. I thought maybe it was more hormonal of, like, being lost. Because I was like, I'm meant to be young, and I'm meant to be going out, and I'm meant to be doing this. But I want money, and I want to not have to work, and I just was trying to find myself, and I wanted to be at those parties with my friends, but I knew if I went, I wouldn't be able to build what I want. And I was almost like always having an argument with myself inside. And then eventually I was like, fuck it, I'm all in. Like, and I just ignored the fact that I might not be I might be missing out on memories. I might be not able to go out certain nights and not know all the inside jokes anymore. But I have £500 every single month coming into my bank without needing to
Guaranteed.
work, like
Yeah.
needing myself to exchange
Yeah.
my time. And at the time, I hated housekeeping. Like, I really hated it. And I really hated waitressing. And I was so bad at it. Like, so bad.
So were you still working these jobs while
Yeah.
you were acquiring
Yeah.
these houses?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
I also didn't want to sacrifice my holidays because I love traveling. I always
Okay.
have. And I wanted to go wherever, But by
Wow.
18, I had 84 tenants. And
Okay, explain
yeah,
how crazy that is. Two people, 84 tenants, meaning.
like one person living in one of my rooms in one of my properties.
So that's 84 tenants in your properties paying you.
84 people that I was
84
responsible for.
people paying you,
Yeah,
say, £500
yeah,
on average
yeah,
a month.
yeah. And it
At
was,
18.
yeah. And they were also my responsibility, which meant if, I don't know, Joanne ended up nicking Nick's rice, Joanne would not tell me, and Nick would complain that someone stole his rice in the cupboard, and I would need to deal with that. And yeah, it was not, it wasn't, it's funny because like what you once dreamed for turns out so, like, you get everything you dreamed for plus a little spice.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know what the spice is. Like, I saw this thing, like, everyone wants a fancy car until they break something in the car and the repair is 10 times more. It's the thing that people don't talk about. And so, yeah, like, I had the income, I had the money. I didn't really have to work, but I felt like I was working 24/7.
Because you were upkeeping, you have
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah. And then I was like, I couldn't actually go clubbing. COVID also hit around then.
Okay.
People
Did
weren't,
that change things?
yeah, people weren't paying rent.
Okay.
And I was 18 and I remember being like, oh my God, I'm rich, I'm making money, like, this is great, I knew it could happen. And then all of a sudden, like, COVID hit and I was like, that's fine, like, everyone still needs a home. But the thing I wasn't too keen about was the tenant right laws, which meant that, like, technically someone could not pay me rent for 6 months. And I can't do anything about it, really. So I was just like, okay. And there was like people who were still paying, which helped massively. But there were some
Okay.
people who just were made redundant because they were affected. And as a human, I understood that. Okay, like, you don't have a job, that's fine. And no one's really hiring, that's fine. But I still have this issue and you should be paying me rent according to this contract. But you're not because you don't have it. But so where do I go? So I had to go back to like working. And I started thinking, like, I need to change my structure.
Yeah.
And then I went, fuck it, I'm going to convert them into Airbnbs. And as their tenancies expired, I let them go and I never put new tenants in. And some of these properties I couldn't convert into Airbnb, so I just sold the deal on to someone.
As in, like, you were able to sell on, not obviously the property, but
No, but the deal.
The deal.
So, like, for
Yeah.
example, the deal was that I was making £500 to £800 per
Yeah.
month per property. So, if this property that was making me £800, I would take out all my problematic tenants out.
Yeah.
I'd leave the furniture,
Yeah.
and I would convince the homeowner to re-sign with a new company.
Yeah.
But I would charge that company £3,000 to £5,000 for that deal.
For that. Yeah.
And that would allow me to upgrade the furnishings in my Airbnbs.
Unreal.
So,
Genius. And so how did you get into Airbnb? Was that difficult, that switch over?
yeah, it was. There was a lot to, like, understand. But I was like, I've got it. I've been in property for long enough. Like,
You had all the skill sets.
I've got it. It was very different. I started learning about linen changes and cleaning and, like, I was like, okay, like, and I always loved aesthetic places, like I said, like, I
Yeah.
always loved making, like, something look really pretty, and I loved interior design, so I was in my element, like, I was like, I want blue beds and these cushions and all of these things, and it was really wholesome, until I was like, okay, like, I'm not getting tenants, I'm getting guests in, which overcomes my issue of tenant rights, because if someone like enters my property, I can kick them out if
Yeah.
they're not paying, or like they also with Airbnb they pay you up front.
Yeah.
So I was like, I like this, you know,
Yeah.
because I'm never not going to get
And did
paid.
you start this in COVID, Julia? Airbnb?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow. How did that work? If like, were you making money from Airbnb even though?
Loads. I actually
How though? If
doubled,
there
if
was
not
people who
tripled,
weren't.
because of NHS workers and people who were being brought up from Scotland, from London, and are needed in our hospitals. And my properties were placed close to the hospitals, and those companies paid me. So
To house them.
to house them. So it was corporations paying me. So it was even more secure.
Wow.
Yeah. And then when COVID opened up, stopped, and like everyone was able to go, the tourism market was like all time
Through the
high.
roof.
So I was then like charging incredible rates. Probably one of the best years I've had. Like,
When you came
yeah.
out of COVID. Wow. And so that is still your company now that still runs in the
Yeah.
UK. But talk to us about your other portfolio. You have a portfolio as well in Scotland, am I right?
Yeah.
So explain to us what that is. What is a portfolio? How did you decide to invest in this? This is like you investing in property from
Yeah.
the money that you've earned through your Airbnb business.
Yeah. So I've also done flips on the side in between. So like I
Okay, what does that mean?
renovated, I bought a property, renovated, sold it, and I made profit
From your Airbnb.
and
business.
just from like an additional side hustle. Like,
Oh, wow.
just like, okay, like whilst I'm running my Airbnb business in the background, I'm going to buy, renovate, and sell property. And because
Using the cash flow from your Airbnb.
I actually worked with investor finances, because I worked with investors to set up some of my Airbnbs. So people who had spare money sitting in the bank ended up investing into my properties that I had. I
So
would
you
use that.
used other people's money.
Yeah. And then I would provide them, say, a return like 12 to 15% on their money, which was more than the bank could ever give them. And then after 12 months, they'd have their original money invested plus more. And they'd either reinvest again or go again. And they started with like small sums, like 3 to 5K. And then eventually, when I told them I want to start renovating, I want to, you know, destroy a few walls, build a few new walls, they were like, I'm all game for it because you've returned my money multiple times, like all of this, like I trust you, let's go. And they would invest anywhere between 150 to 500K with me, which was obviously a much greater responsibility, but we just made it work. So yeah.
So they would trust you at like between 150 to 500K.
Yeah.
Then you would go destroy a house.
Well, buy a house,
Buy a house.
and renovate it to try and uplift its value.
Wow.
So like sometimes it would mean destroying certain parts of it to like make it better.
Better.
But yeah.
And then they would get a return on that
yeah,
investment.
and they would do nothing. And I would obviously
do
do
all
all
the
the
work.
stresses. I'd give them updates as and when they asked for it, or some. It depends. Some people are like, "Oh, is everything okay?" Other people are like, "I don't care.
Trust
Just
me.
give me my money, like when it's done." You know.
And so you did that, you flipped a few houses.
Yeah, and
first.
and then I realized like, oh, actually, like I'm actually helping people whilst helping myself. It's a win-win. Like they're getting money invested for them without the risk. Because I would always say, if I can't return that money, like because of this project, I will return it personally. So they had like no risk. So then it was perfect for them. But for me, it meant I need to make this work because then I can make 50 grand, 60 grand on top of that. And I'm not putting a single pound into it. So that's what basically started doing that side. And then I was like, well, we could like, I wanted to buy to then renovate to refinance it to start keeping. But none of the deals really stacked in order to return fully the investors' money.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, I can't keep them yet. And I also met my boyfriend, who's my boyfriend now. And he was like a portfolio landlord. And I was like, you're also really young. Like, how did you do this? He's like, oh, I'm from Scotland. And in Scotland, you know, I can buy a house for like 80K. And I'm like, yeah, you buy a house for 80K, but what, your cash flow, like you can rent it out for like 800. And he was like, no, I buy a house for 80K and I rent it for like 1,000 200. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because in the south, I'm buying a house for 230k and I can rent it for 1,200. So you're telling me I'm putting almost like half the money into a property and I'm making the same cash flow. It's like, yeah, like that changes all the numbers. So then I was like, I want to invest in Scotland, all of this. And like, we also were being really good friends. This was like before we were in a relationship. And then when we were in a relationship, we started discussing our goals. What do we want? And my ultimate goal is I want to be like a full-time mum. I never really wanted to be a businesswoman, ever.
Wow, Julia.
I wanted to be a housewife and I wanted to just literally
Have a
cook,
home.
clean, and like put my flowers in a pot. Like literally, that's all I wanted to do, and have my kids.
Wow.
So I was like, this is what I finally want to do and I get to do, but I don't want to have the stresses of my Airbnbs. So why don't we focus on buying portfolios, and eventually by the time I want to be a mum, I can sell my Airbnb business and live off just buy to let stuff. Like,
Can you explain to our listeners what a portfolio is?
yes, so a portfolio is anything, I think it's like 6 or more houses. So anyone who owns 6 or more houses is classified as a portfolio landlord. And in Scotland, there's actually a rule. So if you buy 6 or more properties in a single transaction, you save majorly on tax. So that tax that you save, so for example, we just bought 7 properties and
So
in a
you
single
obviously came
transaction.
together to buy these 7 properties.
So we found 7 properties from 3 different sellers, and we asked our solicitor to combine it into a single transaction. And what that meant is then basically you can have a tax like reduced. And instead of paying 48 grand in tax, we ended up paying like 3.4k in tax. So the savings that you have from buying at a larger sum, you can then put into another house.
Wow.
So it's much easier to scale that way.
Yeah.
And I don't think England has that rule. So it's only Scotland. So I was like, okay, incredible. Let's find properties. Let's buy them in a portfolio. And basically, one Airbnb property needs probably about 2 to 3 buy to lets to replace that income. Because Airbnb is a cash flow income. Like it's very, very high in cash flow, which is incredible. But you don't own the asset unless it's yours.
Yeah.
And then with this one, you get refinances. So, like, you get money released out of the property ever so often and the chunks of cash, and you own it. So, the equity of the property obviously increases. It's all words that sometimes I feel like I'm losing you.
Yeah. What do you mean by like refinancing?
So, it's funny, like, there's so much to learn in property. You need to know what a mortgage is. Like, a mortgage is obviously a bank loaning you money to buy a house.
Yeah.
You then repay that bank. But over the years, your property's going to increase in value. So then you start building something called equity in it. So, for example, if you bought a house for 50k, in 10 years' time, it might be worth 100k, just naturally, because the demand's gone up or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, the area's become better or something. Or there was a school built down the road. Who knows? There's 50k of that just stuck in your property because that's the current value of the property,
Yeah.
but this is what you brought it at. So you can go back to the bank and ask to refinance it, which means take the money out of the property, which is the 50k,
Yeah.
and put it onto a new mortgage product.
Okay.
And then you have a mortgage now for 100k instead of 50k,
Yeah.
but you get the money back, what was
Wow.
trapped in the property.
Yeah, you get the difference.
Yeah, and then you get to keep the property, make the rental income.
So you're basically making money off it as the years go on, anyways. In that
Yes,
way.
but it's in different ways.
In
So
different
with
ways. So
Airbnb,
that's one way.
yeah, yeah. So with Airbnb, you get the monthly. With buy to lets, you own the property, you own the assets, so you actually benefit from the equity in the property. You can also refinance it, but you also get a cash flow from the tenants. However, the cash flow is usually between, it depends on the buy to let, but like 200 to 500 pounds profit typically
Okay.
a month.
And do you
But
have
Airbnbs
tenants
make,
in your portfolio now?
yes,
Okay, right.
yes. So like, and then Airbnbs, they cash flow about £1,000 to sometimes £3,000 per property per month.
Yeah, so it's like Airbnb is like a top funnel way of like
Yeah.
making like
Cash
quick
flow.
cash flow, but you don't own the asset. And then the portfolio, you own the asset, you can refinance as one way of making money through it, and then the other way is like the tenants as well
Yeah.
that you have within it.
Yeah.
That is absolutely incredible. And your tax is low because you bought it through a single transaction.
Yeah, my yearly tax isn't low, but the tax on the property purchase is low if you buy 6 or more in a single transaction. Only from my knowledge in Scotland. I don't think it applies in England.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically we saved 40, well, it was meant to be 48 grand. We paid about 3 grand something, and we saved majorly on tax, which allowed us to basically have a deposit for another house.
Wow. 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 I'm someone who's obviously very new to all of this. So, like, I am a complete beginner when it comes to wanting to invest in property. What would your best piece of advice be to me or to someone listening who wants to invest in a property but they don't know where to start? Maybe they have 5K sitting in their bank account, it's depreciating in their bank account. What advice would you give them in investing into property?
It depends what they want out the investment. So like I work with multiple people who have money in their banks, but I always ask them like, have you thought about what you want out of this investment? Because some people want to be able to buy their daughter a new car when she turns 18 or 17. If they trap that money with us in an investment or in any investment for 2-3 years, but their daughter's already 18 now or 17, it's not going to work for them. So like I always say, like, you need to know what it is you want out of the investment. How long are you willing to have the money trapped in the investment and making money for you effortlessly? You need to know what kind of returns you would be happy with. So like, what are you currently getting in the bank, which in most like is nothing basically.
Yeah.
If anything, it's depreciating.
Exactly.
And yeah, and then it's like, okay, what is the ultimate goal that you want to achieve with this money? Do you want to grow it? Do you want to be more hands on? Do you want to be more hands off? Like, it all depends from that. Once I get those answers, I can then be like, okay, well, this is something we can do for you. Or some people want like, I don't know, 20% return in 6 months, and it's just not realistic.
Completely unrealistic.
So then, not with me anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, well, I can't help you, and I actually don't know anyone else who can.
It's
And
too
this,
unrealistic.
but sometimes some people go to me as like, oh, I don't really care about the return. I just want knowledge in property. And so something that we did recently is we said loads of people want knowledge in property because knowledge is priceless. So instead of like paying 5K for a course, they can pay 5K into our projects. We'll teach them all there is to know about that project. But after that project's done, they just get the 5K. So we benefit from having the money in our project without an interest, but they benefit from the knowledge that no course would ever give them.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So we do like
So it's
multiple
kind of like
things.
a course, but like
it's
it's actionable, it's hands on, you've done the thing.
And you pay nothing for it because we're only borrowing the money.
Yeah, it's like
So-
and that's another thing, Julia, I think a lot of people need to understand is that you started with nothing. You built your skill set and you used other people's money as leverage to get everything it is that you have today.
Yeah, and like we're still doing it. Like we're
Yeah.
still working with so many people's money, but it's great because I see that how many people we've already helped. Like
Yeah.
people have brought homes because they've invested money with us.
Yeah,
And
because they
it's-
understand it now.
They didn't understand it at the time. They were just like, I don't get it, but I want my money to grow. And they invested it with us, and then they continued investing it with us until it's grown to a larger, much larger sum, which allowed them to buy a house because that was the deposit.
And also as well, you're building trust. It's like no risk
Yeah.
involved because you're building trust by saying, if you give us 5K, we'll teach you everything. We'll give it back
Show
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll show you everything. We'll give it back to you. But after teaching you and building that, after you teaching them and building that trust, then they're like, well, I trust you. Here it is.
In
Keep
some
it.
cases,
And then-
yeah. In some
keep it and
cases,
then
we've had that.
invest. Yeah.
And in other cases, like people want to just do it themselves.
Okay.
So in other cases, they've learnt it, they're so grateful, and then they go off and do it themselves. But I'm happy because they learnt it from someone who's actually in the game.
Yeah, you're helping other people do it.
Because there's loads of people like selling a course and taking people's money, but they don't have skin in the game.
Yeah.
And they teach because they don't know how to
Yeah.
do. So it's kind of like, yeah, this way we can help people, they get their money back. We also benefit from it because we get to leverage their money. But yeah, that works for some people. In other cases, people are just really busy with their 9 to 5 jobs. Like I've got lawyers, I've got dentists, like people who work like high-end jobs, and they don't have time to invest their money, but they have quite a large sum of money sitting in the bank. In the UK, the bank only protects 85k from what I know. So if they have any more than 85k and they get scammed on that account, the bank will not return their money.
Wow.
So those people will come to us and they'll invest for a fixed return. They don't want to be hands-on. They literally want their money to grow whilst they're just carrying on with the day-to-day
Yeah.
life. So that's when we're like, cool, we invest it into our projects and we give them between a 1 to 2 year term. And then at the end of term, it gets returned with interest on top.
Unreal. And it's like more interest than they'd ever get from like a bank.
Yeah, than anywhere. And what's
Oh,
funny that
take my money, girl.
But what's funny,
Genuinely.
this is the funny part where maybe like some people don't understand. Most people are scared about investing their money in the bank. But what they don't understand is that the bank is actually making money off their money. So people like me would go to a company like a bridging company. So a bridging company works with banks, and it's funny because those people who have money sitting in their bank accounts, not making anything, the banks are making money on that
From
money.
them.
Because the way it works is that money that's sitting there, it's just a number on your screen. What's actually happening is the thing behind the screen. Like they are using that money and partnering up with bridging companies and saying they want a percentage on that money. Then that bridging company like has me who applies for a loan, and they up the interest, so they also make a cut. And guess what? That money that's in that bank account ends up with people like me anyway to invest into our projects, but without them knowing. So I always say whenever someone's too scared about investing their money, your bank will already probably invest it in one of our projects and you don't even know it.
Anyways.
Like it's insane because
It actually is. It's like this secret.
But it's not a secret as well. Like,
it's not a secret
yeah.
because we're telling you, but it's almost like too good to be true,
Yeah.
and it's like a scam, and it's like too risky.
But then the banks are doing it behind their backs.
But this is what I mean, and it's like all of this stuff is scary and it's risky and whatever, but when you wake up to the world and you actually see it from a different lens,
Yeah.
when usually if you're an entrepreneur or you're somebody who wants to make money or scale, right, you're like, oh,
This makes sense
this
now.
is how
Yeah.
it works.
So like when I think the first thing you need to understand as well is like how money works.
Yeah.
If you
be
can
financially
understand,
literate.
Yeah, and if you understand how money works, you'll know how it circulates and how, and then you're like, oh, okay, like this makes sense now, and it's easier to explain it. So like, for example, now like explaining it to you, those people who don't want to invest because they want to see their bank account balance, they only hurt themselves because
Yeah.
they're stopping themselves from getting the interest that's owed to them. And the banks are making
Money off of
money
their
off of them.
Yeah.
And they're just allowing their money to never, like,
Grow.
it's just, yeah.
It's just stagnant. Oh no, it's actually depreciating.
It's actually
in-
depreciating
in
inflation.
the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy. And it's so interesting that we speak like this now, right? Because I failed business in school. I'm built
Yeah.
too. You said that you failed
Nearly
in school
yeah. Like
and
nearly
dropped out of
everything.
college.
Multiple times.
But yeah, so it's like I've been obsessed with self-development and reading on finances, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, all of these books that I'd read, and I've been listening to podcasts, especially the Diary of a CEO, since I was like, I don't know, like 18, 19, in order to escape like and understand that this is not the life that I want to live.
Yeah.
Like I do not want to be broke for the rest of my life. I don't want to be stressed about money for the rest of my life. I don't want this burden hanging over my parents anymore. I want to be able to give back to them, retire them. Like I just don't want this, and I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that all of the skills and understanding we have around business and money now, we were never taught in school.
No. And my brother's now 18 and in the longer term of things, I want to sell my business, and he showed interest. So I'm actually teaching him the ins and outs of a business. And it's funny because like I have calls with him and I teach him what's a mortgage, what's a refinance, how do we set up bills? And I'm like questioning every single time I have a call with him because I'm like, the schools never teach us this. And it's something that all of us need to know.
Yeah, it's life.
Credit history, how does that work? Credit cards, how does that work? Why does the school not teach us this? Because it has a system to follow. And unfortunately, it's if you're in debt, you need to go to work. And if you're at work, it will be hard to get out of debt in most cases, or you'll get into a cycle. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, they don't really teach us the things we should be knowing. And I noticed that massively. And it's funny because, like, you learn so much along the way that you probably don't, to you now, is common sense, but it wasn't common sense to you when you started.
No, yeah.
So it's like, sometimes I catch myself telling my brother things and then he's like, what's that? And I'm like, well, that's just common sense.
Yeah, it's interesting,
And
Julia, because even like me listening to everything you're saying, I'm grasping bits, but I actually don't understand a lot of it for someone who's in business and who is an entrepreneur. And it's just like probably alien to our listeners.
Yeah.
So, like, what book or what you obviously have your own podcast and YouTube and stuff, and people can obviously reach out to you if they want your advice and help as well. And we'll link everything, like all your bits below. But is there any specific book that you've read or podcast that you listen to or people you listen to that can help with like property investment? Or what's your biggest piece of advice, I suppose, to that listener who feels like this is all alien to them?
Okay. If property's alien to them, it depends how they learn. I don't actually, I haven't found a book yet that explains
You
all
learned
of
by
this.
doing.
I learned by doing, but also like watching other people do. So the best thing I can say is like literally go out there and don't be afraid to mess up and ask people questions. And like if someone's doing a renovation, ask them like, how has it gone to plan? Why hasn't it? Like, what were your original timeframes for that renovation? Has it run over? What was your original budgets? Has that run over? Why? You learn so much from just asking those questions. Or like, what's a mortgage? Research it. Find a YouTube video on it. Someone will explain it. What's a refinance? Research it. Google will probably have the answer. Ask ChatGPT. It will probably give you an essay response of everything. What's like, the different strategies in properties and all of these things. Like, you can learn a lot off the internet more probably. I haven't found a book, so I can't really recommend one. But one thing I will say is before you go into property, you need to have the right mindset. And it sounds really cliche, right? But you need to not be afraid of failing. And you need to like constantly just keep going, and you actually need to be the person you want to be. So like I read a book called Be Your Future Self Now. I can't remember the author, but it was an incredible book, and the whole thing was like, who is this person you want to be? So like obviously now like new year, new me, everyone like is going in.
Yeah.
But like, okay, think about it. Who do you want to be? How does that person speak, behave, dress, acts, like what are her hobbies, what are, all of this. And then it's as easy as just becoming that. Like write it all down and then be like, okay, this is who I'm going to be from today. That is my identity. Like this is who I'm wanting to be. So why don't I just be it? And like that will already help in property, because like someone who wants to get into property wants to make money. Someone who wants to make money needs to understand money, so therefore needs to not be embarrassed to ask questions. So needs to work on being confident, and most people aren't. Like I wasn't always confident. I told myself I was. And then I was like, okay, this is the person I need to be. So I'm going to be that person now. Like, it's like sometimes as easy as that.
Like, essentially what you're saying is that you had to let go of all these old stories and limiting beliefs that you maybe once had of yourself.
Yeah.
Like I'm Julia, who has grown up in moved to your council estate when you were 12, and you could have played victim to all of that. And you could have believed that you weren't good enough when you failed in school, or you could have believed that you weren't good enough when you failed certain things in college, or you could have felt like you weren't good enough when you were told no, but you chose not to listen to any of that.
And it's funny because you mention like, oh, because I failed, oh, because I lived in a council estate, oh, because of, but those were all things in the past. And the thing that I've never thought about when I was like, right, this is happening now, I never thought about the past. Like, I thought about where am I going? What am I going to do to get there? Like, it was all looking into the future. Because if you're constantly looking at the past, yeah, I do feel emotional sometimes, like looking back at the past and like certain things. But like, that's the thing, we're human, we're meant to feel emotions. But if we were constantly looking at the past, we'll just constantly be a wreck, like, because we all went through things. That's not what propels you. It's looking in the future and knowing what's possible, and the excitement you feel that makes you more motivated to do stuff. Like, there's no need looking in the past. Like, moving
Wow.
forward. Do you know what I mean?
In regards deciding that that's the person you were going to be, you made that decision, and then every single day did you tell yourself that like it was non-negotiable, but that this was happening? Were you just like, I am doing this?
I was really strict with my routine, and I laugh at myself now. Because I was told, like, if you want to be successful, you need to wake up at 5, and you need to journal, you need to go gym, you need to do...
I did all of that.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, okay, like, hustle, 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 like, let's go. Almost like looking back at it, I just want to give her a hug, like, because I'm just like, oh wow, like, because of what she did, I'm here, but also there could have been other ways as well, like, because I took it very seriously, like, to a next level of seriousness. Like, I never took time off, ever. And I woke up at 5 for half a year, every single day, Monday to Sunday. I thought that was fucking crazy. Like, for some people, they might be waking up normally at 5 a.m. I didn't have kids. Like, I still don't have kids.
What age were you?
I was 16. And I was waking up at 5 a.m. No,
Like, what was I doing at 16?
Sorry, I was probably 17, 18. Sorry, I wasn't 16. I was
Okay,
17,
but still,
18.
like 17, 18, like let me even think back to me at 17, 18. I was working. Where was I working at 18? I was working in Angel Lane nightclub, and I was working in a bath bomb shop. And I was probably in my final year of school or college. But like, you were waking up every day at like 5 a.m.
But that's not even it. I wrote down like morning routine, evening routine, midday checklist. Like, it was on steroids. Like,
That is
it was,
insane.
yeah.
Of like non-negotiables of what you
Oh,
needed
like,
to do to get to
I
where you
had
wanted
to do it, and if at the end of the day, and I had like, it was laminated, by the way, like, I wrote this up, it was all laminated, and it was on my wall, and every single week, and it had like a whiteboard marker. I had to tick it, and if I didn't tick it, I was like, that's it, like, I fucked up.
Failure.
Like, yeah, it was really intense.
Where did you think you got that tenacity from?
Probably like just like social media influence of like, you need to hustle, like all of these things. And I listened to a lot of like motivational speakers on YouTube.
Me too.
Which was like a curse and a blessing, because I was like, I can do this, but it was like, if I want to do this, I need to do this, 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 this. When like now looking back at it, I probably didn't need to be as intense. Like, I probably could have taken like a walk with my family in the evening, you know, like, but I was like, no, I can't do this. It's not in my evening routine. My evening routine is to read 5 pages of my book, say my affirmation. Like, it was really intense. So I'm a very like 360 kind of person now, because now I'm like, oh, it's fine. Like,
Yeah, but you can be like that
Yeah.
because she got you here.
100%. But then also, like, I do look at her and I think she was a bit too intense. Like, yes, it was amazing. She was just a bit too intense. Like, I think she could have gone one day, like, just enjoying herself, or she could have, like, gone to a friend's birthday, or she could have, like, there were so many things that was like, it's not in my routine, I can't do it. If I do it, I'm not going to be successful. Like, I've really
Do you
dedicated
think-
myself to it.
Yeah, but do you think that like hard work is necessary to get to where you need to be?
100%. Like, hard work is like an understatement, you know? Like, when I was setting up all the properties, I was making quite a lot of money. I remember I'd pay myself like £5,000 a month at that time. And I was still setting up more properties because I was like, I need more to move my mum out to do all these things. And I think it was like, I took on the properties and I had 48 hours or 36 hours to set up 5 properties because I was leaving for Mexico for a holiday. And I was like, okay, how will I do this? So I was like, okay, right. I'm going to not sleep for 36 hours and I'm just going to literally go through it, Red Bull, coffee. Half the time I didn't even need Red Bull or coffee because I was running off like pure adrenaline. And I was very much, I can do it myself. I was very much like,
Didn't
I
ask for
got
anyone
this.
else.
Like, and like that was a bad trait of mine because I was like, always let down by people. So I was like, well, my mom said, if you can count, count on yourself. So guess what? I'm counting on myself. Like,
Wow.
and yeah, so
Do you think watching your mom work so hard that rubbed off on you as well?
maybe. I think my mum definitely did rub off on me a lot. Like, she's an independent woman, doesn't need anyone.
Yeah.
I'm going to be this big boss lady. And I almost lost sight of like what I really wanted, which was to be married and to have kids and to be a housewife. I was completely on the wrong track at one point. And I'm grateful that like I reminded myself of that. But yeah, I used to be really hustle, 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 didn't sleep for 36 hours, set up properties, and actually then got really like overwhelmed because I was about to leave for Mexico. I haven't packed my suitcase. I haven't even set up one whole property. So I was like, right, I'm going to organize my team. And that's when I was like, right, painters and decorators, I need to outsource.
Delegate.
And that's when I was forced to delegate. And I then realized when I came back, the world didn't end.
And
And
when you weren't there.
and everything was done. And I thought, oh, like I was on a beach, like literally enjoying my time. I went scuba diving in Mexico, the most incredible experience. And my team set up a whole property without me. And I was like, that is insane. So
And that's when you started like being like, okay, delegation is the way to scale.
yeah, because I was like, if I can be on a beach while other people do the work, like,
Wow! People can do this?
why have I not done this before? Because I would do everything myself. Yeah.
Wow.
So-
Wow, Julia, that is absolutely incredible. And do you have a team now in the UK that like
I
does
have
everything?
to, like, we're what,
You've no
8
choice.
hours ahead of them.
Yeah.
What I said to my boyfriend yesterday, I was like, I feel like I don't even speak to the UK world anymore.
Yeah.
Because when we wake up, it's 11 p.m. for them. And when we go to sleep, it's like, I think 8 or 9 a.m. for them. So I'm like, oh, all it
You have to
yeah.
let go of that,
Yeah.
you know.
And to be fair, I trust them now.
Yeah.
Like, I've done it
So
for
it's
so many
lovely.
years and I've trained them. We have staff trainings ever so often as well.
Amazing.
Which is really nice. And if anything, I've also really downsized my Airbnb stuff. I used to be in multiple cities. Now I literally just do Southampton, which was my
Wow.
original city that I came from. And the reason for it is just because I trust the market. And London caused a lot of issues, and loads of other cities that I was in, just like I had to be in business with people, so I had to have business partners, and that's a whole nother ball game of like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Headaches.
yeah, just yeah.
And Julia, with everything happening in the UK now, with like the new taxes like that are coming in and stuff like that, have you had to like reevaluate where you want your business?
It's it's really scary because as an entrepreneur, you're constantly changing your plans. But the one thing I've always wanted my whole entire life, and I've been fighting for, is stability and safety and all of that side. So we're now buying portfolios in Scotland. That's part of the UK, and with my Airbnb side, that's my income at the moment. So I'm kind of like, well, what are we going to do if like we need to I'm not one to be controlled, so like this might not agree with some of your listeners, might agree, who knows, but like I don't agree with the digital IDs and all of these things that is like circling around. I'm not also really that into politics, so like yeah, but something that I have said is I want to start looking at other avenues of moving our portfolios overseas so that they are protected, because it is our wealth, like it is our future that we're also relying on. And if the UK decides all of a sudden, like, I don't know, if it all completely goes shit up, you know, the banks go and, I don't know. I don't know. It's just scary to think what could go wrong. And yeah, so now we're kind of not trusting our own country, our own government. So we're finding ways to secure our assets in different countries.
And because you've all the skill sets of everything that you've built in property, are you going to just apply all the skill sets that you have, obviously, elsewhere?
Yes and no. Like, obviously, you need to know where you invest. So, like, we live in Bali now because we're wanting to start up a whole new business. Originally, our plan was to start up a whole new business in a whole new economy. So, if the UK economy goes to shit, we always have this one, and vice versa, right? But now we're thinking of completely leaving the UK stuff, but still buying stuff in the UK. So we're learning about how to do that because that's all new to me. Because we want to continue growing our property portfolios in the UK, but we're also learning about new laws and new everything because
Yeah,
Bali
it's
is
like
a whole
starting
new
all again.
economy.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes and no, like we're applying my basic knowledge of Airbnbs and like
I
every
wouldn't say that's basic, Julia. Like, that's like
well, if you think
really
about it though,
incredible.
like you need to know what visas you need in Bali to be compliant to open a business. You need to know what like regulations and like what like you need to reach certain targets and stuff and invest a certain X amount and there's so many things you need to know that you don't need to know in the UK because of the different requirements as someone who
Okay.
is not an Indonesian resident, you know?
Okay.
So there's so much you're learning just before you even start investing in Bali.
Wow.
So like in the UK it's called an LTD, in Bali it's called a PMA.
Okay.
Like if someone told me PMA before, I was like, what's that?
What's that?
Yeah. Oh, it's an LTD. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But then like there's just you need to learn a whole new terminology and how it works.
And it's a
How do
whole
tax
other country.
returns work here? Like how
Yeah.
do like reporting works? Like all of these things, and you need to really have a company like a bureau of a visa company that you really trust and who can guide you correctly because you mainly rely on other people as well and their experiences. But yeah, of course, like my Airbnb knowledge comes into it. We know how to then set up an Airbnb and run it, but it is very different here because here we're working with villas and in the UK we're working with houses and flats. And also in the UK it's basically corporations who rent the properties from us for their employees to live there. It could be like construction workers, it could be NHS people, it could be like people with insurances who like have an insurance claim on their home, you know, those are the people we're housing. It's the companies paying us now. But in Bali, the workers who build your villas live in sheds. Like they build their own. You've probably seen them, the wooden sheds.
Yeah.
There is no company paying for their villa, you know? So we're now relying on the tourism market. So you need to know exactly when to take on a property. And then also, if you're building, you need to know when would be the right time to start building so that
And
the wet
also, I
season doesn't
think,
catch you too
yeah,
bad when you're building the
yeah,
foundations. Like, the foundations are also so important.
yeah,
So we're literally learning
all of
all
that.
of that as we go along. But yes, we are not starting from scratch because we have all the knowledge. So it's a lot easier.
Anything is easy.
I don't think I would have been able to invest in Bali and property if I didn't have my UK knowledge.
Yeah,
Because Bali is a whole nother ball game.
yeah,
But because I've got the basic knowledge of the UK stuff, we can now
yeah. You can
grasp
use your
things
skill
quicker.
sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What's a property deal you'd instantly jump on today, and what's one you would tell me to stay away from?
Okay. There's a few I tell you to stay away from different reasons. Like some could be like who you work with on a particular deal. Some could be just because the deal isn't what it seems. Also, the ones that I tell you to get on is like probably one of my first ever deals that I've ever done, which I was always hesitant about taking because no one had properties in that area, but that's why it was incredible.
Okay.
So I still have that to today, and it's my best property earner. Like,
And what is that?
it's a 3-bed flat, in like an area that's not really run down, but kind of run down, but it's close to town still. And I remember thinking like, oh, this is the dodgy area. Like, I shouldn't take on a property here. It is always occupied, and like,
Touch wood.
but like, I've never struggled with it, and I remember feeling so anxious. Like, how will I get people? Like, with it is one of the best ones, because it's close to the motorway, and it's as
Okay.
simple as that.
Amazing.
So I was like,
motorway,
okay,
it's convenient.
yeah, and
It's not too pricey.
the location, like, it might. That's the thing. Like, where everyone tells you to invest might not always be the best investment, because everyone's looking to invest there, therefore the prices are all-time high because the demand's high. But if you go a little bit out, you could also just have a good investment, but a much better investment, in fact, because you put less money into it.
Yeah, wow.
It's really interesting. And then other investment elements that I tell you to stay away from, like, for example, taking on a Bali property in rain season, winter season. I don't know if you noticed, there's a lot less traffic in
Yeah.
Bali. You can also see Grab drivers on the sides just waiting or sleeping because they have no work, because there's nowhere near as much tourism.
Everyone's gone home for Christmas.
Everyone's gone home
and
for
all this
Christmas,
stuff.
but even the people who live here, they're going home for the rain season.
Yeah.
No one wants to be here, but I don't get it because it's been like
No, it's
incredible.
still so perfect, is it? Yeah.
But like,
But
yeah,
it is important to like know
Yeah,
that,
so
know seasons and places.
you need to know seasonality, which isn't really a thing in the UK. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah,
like, you are
the
really
differences,
learning, like,
the differences
Yeah.
firsthand. And I suppose if anyone is looking for any advice, they can just head over to your page.
yeah, they can just head over to my
Ask you any
Instagram,
questions.
ask me any. I do like Q&As from time to time, so they can just ask
amazing.
there.
Amazing. And just to wrap up this podcast, it was so insightful and incredible, Julia. But just to wrap it up, what is one piece of advice you would give a young person listening now who was in your position when you were younger? They've no money, they may be failing school, college isn't for them, and they feel like they've no hope or no way out.
They need to believe in themselves, because if they can't believe in themselves, how do they expect others to believe in them? So like, for me, I had to believe in myself, and I never relied on anyone believing in me. And I was like, I'll show you. Like, and you need to have like that strength in you where your purpose or the thing, you need to know that whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve. And the moment you know that, you'll become unstoppable, and you can't lose sight of it, and just keep going, because I always say you never fail until you stop. So you only fail when you stop, so don't give up, because then you're 100% success rate, right? So keep going. But yeah,
Don't quit.
Yeah, don't quit, just keep going.
Julia, you're absolutely incredible, and like, you came over to me that day in the cafe, and your story just completely moved me, and I'm sitting here across from you now, and I'm actually getting emotional again, because you're only 23, and like, to have built everything that you've built from such a young age, it takes going through so much adversity to actually have built what you've built. So you should just be so proud of yourself, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so lucky to know you.
I'm so grateful to have like just be a part of this, and thank you so much. I'm like,
I actually don't even care. Oh my god, you're amazing. You are amazing. Like, you actually are. Honestly, Julia, you're just incredible. Like, you really are. I'll actually just say at the end as well, like, I'll just say here, we'll just like, well, we mightn't cut that part, it's so cute. But we might just say here, like, if people want to find you, because like what we'll do is we'll link everything below, so I'll just say that now, and then you can say like, you can find me at like Julia Business and Life, I think is your
what is
Instagram.
mine?
I think it's that, is that it? Is it Julia Life? Okay, yeah, figure that out first, what your name is on it. Okay. Business, okay. Yeah, you did. Okay. So, Julia, if anyone wants to find you, how can they reach out to you?
On Instagram, I'm Julia Life and Business, all together, of course. And I do Q&As, so
All the
they
time.
can
Or they
like
can reach out
on
via
my
DM
stories,
or.
DM. Yeah, sometimes I don't know why Instagram like shadows people. Not clue why. If they comment on my photo and say I've messaged you, I always click
You'll
on
see
it.
it.
Yeah.
Cool. Amazing. And we'll leave all Julia's details in the
Yeah.
description below.
Thank you for
Yay!
having
Thank
me.
you so much. Thank you. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe because it
Yes.
really helps us. Thank you.